Good afternoon from a very beautiful and sunny northwest of England, my friends. Hope you're all okay and that life is treating you really, really well. Hope you're all right. I'm not doing too badly, although this week I have had cause to want to bash the bajinkies out of some wire. So I thought, what best way to get rid of some stress is to, get your hammer out like this and give some wire a good old bashing. And I came up with 5 little designs, beginner-friendly designs. They're nothing too taxing, as is always with my channel. We don't like anything too taxing, do we? So just something mindful, and I came up with these. Just a little bit something different, I think. So 5 beautiful designs based upon sticks or paddles or whatever you want to call them. We have organic ones and ones with pearls and turquoise coloured beads, and then ones with little holes in and beads hanging off. All right, so I'll just take you through each one of these and I'll give you the length measurements if you are interested. So these organic ones with flat back pearl beads, these sticks measured 6 centimeters in length, and the wire that I used was 12 gauge. That's 2mm, just for your knowledge, but you can use whatever you want. I chose not to make these mirror images because I'm not a huge fan of mirror image things, but you can if you want. So 6 centimeters long. These 3 are all 5 centimeters long. The length of the wire to start with, all 5 centimeters, and again all 2mm 12 gauge. All right, and then there's these ones, beautiful little 3mm beads. I'll go through a list of materials in a second. Beautiful. And then we have these, which are little bit more what we call dobbers in the northwest of England, probably other places in Britain, but big dobbers. There we go. How beautiful are those? Absolutely gorgeous. And these beautiful little guys here have these started out as 3 centimeter lengths of wire, and I just popped a little hole in the end so that we could attach some absolutely beautiful vintage crystal beads. All right, so to make these guys, let's move these out of the way. You're going to need some wire, obviously. Now I'm using 12 gauge, which is 2mm wire. You can get away with 1.5mm, entirely up to you, but this is easier to bash. You're going to need a block and a hammer to do your bashing. You're going to, which actually I'm not going to show you how to bash because you know how to make paddles, you know how to make sticks. I don't need to tell you that. I don't need to show you. So 0.6mm. All right, which is, let's have a think now. So 18 gauge is 1mm, 18, 20, 22 gauge, that is. 0.4, 26 gauge. Okay, so I'm trying to stick to all of these, use these wires, all right, so that you don't need a huge different amounts of wires. You're going to need your usual suspects, which is your collection, your ever increasing collection of tools, of which I have lots and lots and lots. So just pick out your best tools, your favourite tools. And then you're going to need some jump rings and some ear wires. And aside from that, you're going to need some beads. So I'm using some pretty pearl flat back beads here. You can use rounds if you want. You can use 3mm rounds. You possibly get away with 4 for this design. 4mm or 2mm, just whatever you've got in your stash. Again, stash buster, which is brilliant. And like I say, I got these, cost me £1, I think, a necklace with crystal, original, not original, vintage crystals, actually glass crystal beads. So 3mm. For these guys, you're going to need a decent bead with a decent size hole, just whatever you've got in your stash. And for the holes, this little implement, which I'll show you properly later. And that's about it, my friends. So we'll clear the table away and we'll go ahead and make this little array of earrings, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'll speak to you soon. Righty ho, my friends, let's get going. I think I will probably put these into chapters, and then if you're not interested in one, then you can just go to the next chapter, can't you? And makes it a little bit easier for everybody involved. I'll whiz through these. You don't need me to show you how to make paddles. I mean, you know, paddles are a brilliant way of getting a little bit of your anxiety out and your anxiousness and your anger, that kind of thing. If you've stood on a plug or on some Lego, bashing paddles is a brilliant way of relaxing relaxing yourself. Well, I think it is anyway. So I don't really need to show you how to make paddles. As I'm going along, I'll tell you the lengths of the paddles that I've made, but obviously, you know, these things, they don't really need any description. So the only thing that I will say is that I've used to punch the little hole here. I'll just show you my little device, hole punch type thing. Leon tool this one is, but I mean that's a generic tool. You can get these off large internet websites, and this is a 1.5 millimeter, so you just literally punch the hole. Very self-explanatory. So the first one, let's have a look at this one. Really pretty. Now these beads here are another set of beads that I got from a necklace that I paid £1 for. And when I brought them home, I thought, well, I don't know, they're acrylic, but actually they're actually crystal, which, you know, crystal beads for £1. I mean, you can't do much better than that, can you? So once you've bashed your paddle, punched your hole, use a little Dremel, whatever you've got, you just come in with your 0.6 millimeter and just take a little bit, about so much. Let's have a look how much that is, just for argument's sake. Give or take, you know, I don't know, 5.5, 6 inches, something like that. And we're going to make a little knotted head pin, like so. So you just basically come in with your very tiny needle nose, or, you know, tiny little round nose pliers. Just go round, make a little tiny coil, go around twice with the coil, like so. Bend it upwards and just bend that through the hole, like so. And literally, you can use your fingers, or you can use your, what's it called, nylon jaw plier. That's probably the best thing to use, which I've neglected to bring with me at the moment, so don't worry about that. Just, you know, just make a little knot at the bottom, pop your little cute bead on. Doesn't have to be anything too expensive, like so. And then literally we want to be making a little wire wrap here. So I'm just going to use my second step on my plier, like so, round and about, like so, and then just pop it through the little hole that you've made. I really like stick earrings. I really like little paddles. They're so cute. Actually, that went a bit awry. We can sort that out. It's always good, I think, to show mistakes, because we need to learn how to rectify them, don't we? There we go. Try again, Sammy. Through. And very gently pull that on. I was a little bit heavy-handed, which, you know, I can be. All right, so literally wrap, 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 and then wrap back up, like so. Like so. That looks nice. And then just snip off. A little bit too much there, so maybe take, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches. There we go. Just squeeze that down so that everything's nice and neat. And then come in with your little ear wire, like so. No, you don't. You come in with your jump ring. There we go. Nearly forgot about these jump rings. There we are. Just keep that one out of the way there. Come in with your jump ring, Sammy, honestly. There we are. Pop that through. And then tighten this up. Make sure it's nice and neat and tidy. Then you put it on your jump ring. Like so. And then tighten up your ear wire. And there's our first beautiful pair of paddle stick earrings with a beautiful bead on the end. All right, so we'll put those out of the way for now. Let's do number 2. So I will rattle through these, obviously, because we don't want to be sat here all day, do we, worrying about everything. So what you need to do with this one is to come in with your wire, because you want to be putting the beads on first. All right, so you come in with your heavy duty cutters, like so. Don't just obviously watch your eyes as always. We want another 5 centimeters, like so, like so. Give that a chop, that's it. And then what we want to do is hammer the paddle at the bottom, which I will do off camera and then I'll come back to you. So we've hammered our little paddle shape here, and then all you need to do is just give it a little bit of, you know, bring your nail file in, or your emery board, or your little files, your little metal files. Again, these are all organic, so as long as they pretty much look the same size, which that does. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's not too bad, is it? All right, so the only thing you need to remember is to make sure that your beads fit on, which these do. These are really sweet, actually. They're just little acrylic beads that I got in a massive set. Lots and lots of different colours. I mean, how pretty, you know, these are really, really pretty, aren't they? Look at all the different colours. I actually got these at Christmas time because I was thinking about doing some Christmas bauble earrings, but I never got round to it. So pop your beads on. These are literally just acrylic, but oh, I keep bashing my camera. Hang on a minute. There you go. Just to make sure that whatever wire you're using, your little beads fit on, which is fine. And then we want to flatten this end so that we can curl it around like so. So again, I'll do this off camera and I'll come back to you. Okie doke, I've done the bashing off camera so that you aren't having to listen to it, because it's quite loud and bashy, isn't it? So just bash that a little bit there so that you've got a little bit of a flat, slight touch of a paddle there. All right, and then we are going to take our second step on our plier again and bend this around like so, so that you've got a hook, and then just come in with your chain nose and then sort out that angle like so. There we are. So what we need to be doing now is to get our 0.6mm wire again. So let me just move these out of the way. Need a, you know, I don't know, let's have a look. About, I don't know, 25 centimeters, 10 inches maybe. Let's see how that looks. And then leaving the beads at the bottom, wrap your wire around a couple of times. Like so. Okay, and how many times? I don't know. Maybe 4. And just pop that up to the top. Bring your bead in. And with the front side, because you can see here, that's the back side, with the front side facing you as best you can. Keep your bead up and bend your wire around the bead on one side, over twice, like so, and then over this bead, like so. Again at the bottom, a couple of times. Back up this side, like so, just the once, and then back around. So we've got a double wrap, and then literally just wrap it around the top like so. That's it. Keep everything nice and neat. Pull these things back, these wires here back with your fingernails if you need to, and then just give that a chop at the back. I'll use that for something else. And then just squeeze. Everything is happy, like so. How cute are those? I really like these beads. They're very, very sweet. So come in with your little jump ring, like so, like so, and then come in with your ear wire, and that's number 2 made. How pretty are those? I really like copper with turquoise and green. I just think they look really pretty. And there we go. And if it just spins a little bit, just spin it back into place. There you go. So that's number 2. Aren't they pretty? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So let's put these here, and then we'll go on to the next one. Righty-ho, so let's have a look at number 3, shall we? I really, really like this one. How sweet is that? Really scrappy, cute, cute, cute. You can put as many of these on as you like. You can have them spaced out or all clumped up. It's up to you. I just really like this colour with copper. I think it's really, really pretty. So let's have a look at what we need. So you need to bring in some of your 0.4. That's 26 gauge, I believe. And you're going to need a decent amount because we're going to wrap around these little beads 2 or 3 times, each one of these little beads here. So you're going to need, you know, I don't know. Let's have a think. How long is that? Let's have a look. 12, I don't know. Go for about 16 inches, something like that. Again, you know me, if you're watching me long enough, you know that I usually use way too much wire. So I'm going to say about that. So lay your 0.4 26 gauge wire over the top and just wrap a couple of times around at the top like so. How many wraps have I done there? 3 wraps at the top there. Keep this little tail out of the way, and then over. Let's have a look. So you come in, these are 3mm beads, and I'm going to need how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads. There we go. So use, you know, you can use little pearls and all sorts of little, as long as they're, 3mm. You might get away with 4mm, depending upon how much you've bashed your wire, how thick your paddle is. So pop your little bead onto your wire, holding it in place. This first one's a little tricky. You have to hold it on top of the wire and just wrap your wire around a couple of times like so. We then, oops, let me get these out of the way because they're going to go flying onto my conservatory floor. I just know it. So once you've wrapped around a couple of times here, you want to wrap your wire around like so, around the bead 2 or 3 times like so. Don't worry if that you've got a little bit of wire there, it doesn't matter. And then wrap around a couple of times like so. Ready for the next bead. Again, these are scrappy. These are organic, as they say. Don't have to be super neat, do they? Pop your next bead on and then wrap around a couple of times, like so. And then back the other way. So you wrap your wire around your bead a couple of times, in between, like so, in between. Okay, and then back up for the next one. So can you see here how we've got the little beads wrapped around? Come in with your next little bead. You just do this all the way along until you've got however many you like on your stick. So wrap around a couple of times and then back round in the opposite direction. All you need to do is just make sure that you've got enough space in between each of your beads to wrap your wire. Oops, to wrap your wire around like so. There we go. And then wrap around your stick a couple of times. Pop those down with your nails if you like so. All right, so keep doing that until you get to the end. Okay, so we're here right back at the end when we put our last little bead on. They're really cute, these little 3mm, not real turquoise, a sort of reconstituted turquoise. A real turquoise is super expensive, isn't it? So I suppose if you've got some, you know, really pretty, really pretty beads, go for it. Why not indeed? So to make the end, just wrap a couple of times, and again we just come in and wrap around the bead like so, and then just wrap a few times at the bottom like there. There we go. So how does that look? Just snip off that little bit of wire and just squish that down, neaten it up, and then this little straggler here at the end. Take that off. I think it's really nice to experiment with your jewellery, and you know, if you've just got a spare couple of hours just to sit down, bash some of these lengths of wire and make some sticks. I mean, you know, you can wear stick earrings just on their own. They're really elegant, I think, in the ear. So all you need to do now is come in again with your jump ring, whatever size jump ring you want, and then pop it on your ear wire like so. So there's number 3. Aren't they pretty? Let's just have a look at those. Beautiful, bright turquoise, perfect for the spring and the summertime stick earrings with the little beads wrapped around. Okay, so that's number 3. And here we go with number 4. How pretty that is to just have sort of beads on either side. It's a little different to having beads over the top, isn't it? And it's quite effective, I think, certainly with the pearls, these little faux pearls. So let's take our little stick that we've made here in advance, and you're going to need to take your 0.4mm, and again I'm going to say about 18 inches because we're going to wrap around and then back over, so you're going to need a decent amount of wire. So let's quickly buzz through this. So wrap your little end here, push up to the top, and then over the top you've got 3 wraps at the top there, and just come in with your your 3mm beads. These are little faux pearls, which I think are very pretty. All right, so pop so that your wire is coming over the top, pop your bead on, wire underneath, keep that secure with your thumb and your forefinger, and then just wrap once over the top, like so. I'll do that again. Take your little bead, pop it down to the end of the wire. Again, sit it next to this one, and you only want to wrap underneath and then over the top once. All right, so you keep doing that along until you've got 8 beads, or you know, if you're having shorter sticks, however many fit on to your liking. I've got 8 here. I prefer a longer earring when I'm wearing these kind of styles. I just think they're really elegant. So over the top, underneath, back over the top. So we just keep going along. So I'll just pop this one on, and then I'll meet you when we have our beads on, and then we'll look at what we do next. All right, so here, just at the side of the wire, so that it's sitting on the side of your little stick, over the top. Really, really simple. All right, so I'll meet you back here when we get down to the bottom. So here we are, gang, we've got our 8 little beads on. So instead of, you know, getting ready to put another bead on, you literally just bring it behind a couple of times, so you've got 2 wraps. We want to be going back the other way. So we pop our bead on and just wrap in the opposite direction. Just make sure that the beads are in line with each other and next to each other. All right, so around. Don't worry if they, you know, these pop up a little bit. They will do, but we sort of secure them into place when we do our final wrap up or wrap down, whichever. Oops, where's my little bead gone? Little tiny beads. Beautiful, but fiddly, but worth it, don't you think? So again, keeping things in line with your fingers. It can be a little fiddly. Come up in between. Just keep squashing things down. Because as you're wrapping upwards, obviously, the beads are going to want to come with you. Because they're like that. They want to be with you. So pop it in line with this one. And wrap the wire underneath and in the between these beads here. So things get a little clustered up. Just move things down a little bit. You know, don't worry about it. This is stress-free making for mindfulness, I think. So don't worry if things go a bit awry. Okay, so here and then in between here. I'm ready for the next one. So you can squish all these up together when you've put them all on. So I might as well, instead of stopping the camera again, I might as well just go through this with you. If you're all right listening to me bimbling on, which I'm sure you don't mind. All right, so here we go. Only a couple more to do. So pop that there, underneath and through the 2 little beads. See, that wanted to come with me, didn't it? There we go. Squish things down with your fingers, nice and neat. The penultimate one, bead on. Just in line with this bead here, hold, and you know, that's it, tightly, not too tight that you know, you break things, but nice and tight and taut and neat, keeps everything in place. And there's the last one. All right, so wrap around there a couple of times. So we have our beads on. So what I do now, what I did is come over, did I come over the top or underneath? I went to underneath again. So just wrap again through each of the beads. If you need to pull them down slightly, then do so. It just gives it an extra little bit of stability. If you put an extra wrap in there, just fiddle things around if you have to. Push naughty beads back into place if you have to. Like so, like so. And then back right down to the bottom. Pop the naughty beads into place. And then just wrap at the bottom a couple of times. So everything's in place. And then squish things around with your fingers, pull them down if you have to. That's it. And then snip off. How easy is that? Whilst these are very beginner friendly, they're extremely effective and very, very pretty. So just because something is simple doesn't mean it's not beautiful. And then just chop. Where are you? There you are. I'll do this off camera just because. There we go. There we are. So there we have it. And then just literally squish things down a little bit. And again, all you have to do is come in with your little jump ring. So I think these, this range here, these stick earrings would be absolutely brilliant for fairs or craft shows, things like that, because you can make them relatively quickly, can't you? And they look beautiful, organic, you know, really, really pretty, and I think they'd sell really well. So if you wanted to, you know, get yourself a little stall going and some extra pennies, these would be perfect, because you can make quite a few of these in not very much time at all. All right, so that's number 4. How pretty are those? Okay, stick earrings with little pearls on either side. I really like those. Right, let me get rid of these little pearl beads and we will go for the very last pair, because I just thought that 5 was quite sufficient. I mean, you know, you could go on for ages designing lots and lots of little pretty designs, couldn't you, with these little sticks? Let's stick to 5 so that we don't have a 3-hour video. A 3-hour video, which isn't good for anybody. Righty-ho, so here we go. Now then, how pretty is that? So with another little nod to my friend Linda from Gumnut Lane Jewellery. She's wonderful, very good friend of mine. She does try and encourage me to get a little bit more organic. So I've done a little bit of sort of swirls and that kind of thing on this one here. So I'm going to show you how I did this one. Super easy. Now, because we've got a little bit of 0.4mm wire left, I'm going to use that. Now, these little pearls have a flat back to them. So you can use flat back beads here. I'm choosing to use a pearl because it's pretty. Now, there is a train of thought that suggests that when you're making earrings like this, that they should be mirror images. Now, that's fine. That's fine if that's what you want to do. I'm more of a just make each one of them as individual as the next one. If you want to mirror image them, you can do. And I'll try to do that with these, but you know what, it doesn't matter. So with your flat back bead, literally you just want to be wrapping that on for security, because we're going to go over the top of it with some other wire. So don't worry too much about how this looks as long as it's secure. So secure on your bead. I've just done 4 wraps. Just snip these ends off. Obviously mind your eyes at all times. Just take the ends off and then come in and just squish that down so it's nice and neat and squished. All right, so let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, you know, could have set it the other way. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not bothered. It doesn't worry me in the slightest if things aren't mirror imaged. Oh, this green baize is really attractive to bits. Never mind. Right, so you're going to need a decent amount of 0.6 wire here. So I'm trying to stick to, you know, 0.6, 0.4, just so that you don't have to buy lots and lots of different wires. So I'm going to suggest that you cut off, let's have a look, 30, 55, about 10, about 20, 22 inches, because we're going to be doubling this up into 2. Okay, so just cut yourself off a decent amount. Then bend it in half, like so. Okay, and then find the center. And then come in. See, essentially you're just making a double wire. Just squish that up nicely, and then pull the two wires together like so, so that they are, you know, parallel with each other pretty much as close as you can get. Now then, what you want to do now is a couple of wraps at the top here, just over the top, like so, just to secure. And then if you want to come in with your pliers, which I suggest you do, just come in with the plier and secure at the top, like so, like so, like so. There we are. So we can tighten all of this up. And then basically just do what you feel like you want to. So, you know, come in and make a little loop, keeping these wires parallel. Tuck that out of the way, you know, just make whatever takes your fancy. Now this, obviously, my good friend Linda is brilliant at this. She's encouraged me to try it, which I am doing. So just be swirly, just come in with swirls. Again, if you want to make these mirror image, you can do. I quite like the idea that they're not mirror imaged, you know, but you can do if you want. So as long as you keep your little wires as parallel as you can next to each other. That's just gone off a little bit, so, you know, gently come in with your pliers, like so. You want some flourishes, and then keeping your wires parallel. Come around your bead a couple of times, like so, like so, back under, round and about, like so. And then if you want to put a little loop here, just do whatever you feel you want to do. So come around like so, if you like, over the top. Keep things nice and in place. If things go a bit awry, just use your fingers, like so. How you know, I mean, they're not exactly the same, but it doesn't matter to me. Like I say, if you want to mirror image things, then you can do. Maybe, no, I think that'll do. And then background, like so. Let's have a look. Yeah, not far off. I mean, you know, let's have another little loop at the bottom here, just because. And then back underneath. How does that look? Yeah, wonderful. I'm happy with that. You can bend that over. I think the whole point of doing this is that it's organic and you've not to worry about anything. Although they did separate a little bit there, didn't they? There we go. You know, whatever takes your fancy. Make things as pretty, neat, or as scrappy as you'll want. There we go. So just come in, chop here, like so, at the back, and then just chop this little bit off here at the back. Just come in with your pliers, give it a good tighten, give that a good squish so that everything's nice and neat and tidy. There we are. So again, not exactly like the other one. Like I say, if you wanted to mirror image them, you can do, but I actually quite like the idea that they're not mirror images. I really like that in jewellery. You know, it's nice to have something that's not completely exact, but you know, like I say, you can if you like. And then the last thing to do is just to come in with your little jump ring and a bit of green baize there, never mind. That's optional. There you go. And then the final thing again is your jump ring and your ear wire. And there we have a beautiful, elegant, swirly, organic pearl earring set, or you could actually use that as a pendant. How lovely would that be off a cord? Again, not matchy, but beautiful nonetheless. I really like those, and I should be wearing these an awful lot in the summertime. So there we have 5 pairs of earrings that we have designed and made literally from sticks of wire, bashed about a bit, holes put in some, wire wraps on others. How cute are those? 5 beautiful pairs. All right, so I hope you enjoy having some fun, do some bashing, get some sticks made, come up with whatever you like. These are just ideas for you. And I hope you have a lot of fun making them. And I will see you in my next video. So have a super week, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.